This concept completely changes the way I make levels. I want to talk about level design, because right now, that is what I'm working on in my game. And since I'm currently down dirty in the trenches, level design is nice and fresh in my mind. I want to share some thoughts and discoveries I've made along the way. If that sounds either interesting or perhaps applicable to your situation, if you're a game developer, then this video is literally for you. Literally. By the way, no fancy edits in this video, just straight yap. Like I said, I'm currently making this video while in the process of finishing my first game, which releases in 3 weeks, unless I move the deadline. So yeah, I guess you could say I'm a little busy. Don't forget the wish list. Right, what I want to talk about is flow. Now, when I say flow, I'm talking about the experience, starting from launching the game all the way through to completion. Trust me, this is important to how you make levels. If you're an experienced developer, you're gonna know when a player opens your game for the very first time, they're gonna be dumb as straight up. They know nothing about your game. So, the first task of your game is to teach the player how to play the game. So your first few levels should be simple and only introduce one thing at a time. However, if you spend too long holding the player's hand, they're gonna get bored. My mistake in my first set of levels for Hampy was making every single level in the first world introduce every mechanic in the game. My thought process was to get all the teaching out of the way early, so that I'd be free to do whatever I want for the rest of the levels in the game. However, this approach leads to the player learning everything up front. Let's be real. We all went to school. We should all be familiar with how learning can be if you're forced to do a bunch of it all at once. My first prototype had 11 levels. 6 of them introduced mechanics. Those 6 levels had to be simple because they were the first time the player saw those mechanics. So what happened? The player completes a whole world without being challenged. The people I sent the game to didn't even get through all the levels because they just get bored. So, what was the solution for Hampy? It's so simple. Just don't introduce everything all at once. Yeah. It's not rocket science, but if you're like me and you're making your first commercial game, it probably isn't something you are even considering. Hold on to mechanics for later stages. Introduce only a handful of mechanics at a time. For the first world in Hampy, you get introduced to the bouncy boys, the death lava wall, and the sticky platform. Just with those mechanics, we can already make interesting levels and challenge the player. So, to reiterate, first 3 levels simply exist to introduce mechanics. The last 3 levels are there to test the player on the mechanics they just learned. Each level deeper into the world, the levels become harder as well. An advantage to structuring your game this way is that you get to fully explore what every mechanic is capable of and design levels around that. For example, in the first world there are a few interesting interactions with the basic mechanics. Like with the bouncy walls, an obvious interaction is to do this zigzag thing. We have an easy version of it for level 5 and a hard version of it for level 6. Also, there's a little extra challenge of getting the perfect angle to get the star and go into the hole in one shot as well. This level is pretty sick despite it being so simple. These are interesting interactions that I wouldn't have found unless I was forced to make levels with only these mechanics. I'm sure this concept could be translated into other aspects of game development as well, not just level design. One more thing is that, remember how players are dumb as fuck? You can't expect a player to learn a mechanic from just seeing it once. Give them a few levels to understand the mechanics. People generally learn from repetition. By the way, shout out to Bud, my friend on Discord, for this concept. Bro definitely cooked and I just stole his recipe. But I'm gonna pack this in with another piece of advice, which is to show your game to people, like constantly, whenever you add something. And don't just show one person. Show like 10. They're gonna have thoughts and opinions that you don't have. Maybe they'll say cool shit like Bud did. Also, you should do playtests. A lot. It's really hard to make good levels without playtesting, which is something I haven't done yet. Yeah, my levels could still be shit, to be fair, but the scope of this video is more about structure, which is now a lot better. There are many aspects to level design. This is just one of them. So I hope you learned something or you enjoyed this chatting log. If you did, make sure to subscribe and wishlist Hampy's Great Adventure. It's in the top link, and I'll see you guys later.